In a world that is just drowning in information, how do you find what's actually true? Today, we're not just looking for answers, we're learning a completely new way to think. We're going to go inside the world of secret intelligence to unpack a framework that spies use to turn total chaos into crystal clarity. Yeah, we're going to learn how to think like a spy. So that quote you just saw, it's from Sir David Omand, a former top UK intelligence chief. And his point is absolutely critical. Flawed thinking isn't just some abstract idea. No, it has massive, real-world consequences, from national security crises like the Falklands right down to the huge decisions we all make in our own lives.
And let's be real, we all face this exact challenge. Every single day, we're just bombarded with news, social media, opinions. It's overwhelming. The problem an intelligence analyst faces, trying to find that one crucial fact in a sea of noise, is a problem we all have now. Making a bad call might not start a war, but it can for sure mess with our careers, our finances, and our relationships.
And our guide through this whole complex world is the man you just heard from, Sir David Omand. This is a guy who spent his entire career making life or death judgments based on information that was, and I'm quoting him here, always fragmentary and incomplete and is sometimes wrong. He had to build a framework to bring clarity to that chaos, and that's the exact framework we're going to unpack today. All right, here is our mission briefing. First, we're going to talk about why this mindset is so important in the first place. Then we'll break down the 4-step SEES model. That's situational awareness, finding the explanation, estimating the future, and gaining strategic notice. And then, at the end, we're going to give you a personal toolkit to use these spycraft skills in your own life. So here it is, the SEES model. Now, this isn't just another acronym to remember. Think of it like a mental operating system. It's a process, a series of steps designed to force you past your own gut reactions and your biases, to systematically build a much more reliable picture of reality before you ever make a decision. So first things first, why even bother with all this? Why think like a spy? Well, because in our world, information is often used as a weapon to persuade you, to sell you something, to influence how you vote. This mindset isn't just a skill, it's a defense mechanism. It's all about taking back control of how you see the world, instead of letting algorithms and agendas control you. Okay, let's dive into the first step, S for situational awareness. This is the bedrock for everything else. It's about figuring out the facts on the ground. It's not about guessing or assuming. It's about getting as clear a picture as you possibly can of the here and now. But, as we're about to see, that's way harder than it sounds. Now, this is fascinating because it pulls back the curtain on a hidden force that is literally shaping our reality. When you search for something online, you assume you're getting an objective list of results, right? Well, you're wrong. Algorithms are feeding you results based on what they think you want to see. Just like Omen says, you and your best friend could type in the exact same question and get 2 completely different versions of the world. Your situational awareness is being manipulated before you even get a chance to think. So once you've gathered the facts, or at least the best facts you can find, the next step is to ask the most important question of all. Why? This is where you move from just seeing what's happening to actually understanding it. What are the motivations, the hidden causes, the real drivers behind what you're seeing? This is the hunt for an explanation. And this example just illustrates the power of this step perfectly. Omand uses this story of being on a late-night train. Your first explanation, big guy, aggressive talking, is based on limited data, and it immediately triggers a fear response. But then, one single new piece of evidence, that tiny little earphone, it completely reframes the entire situation. Your explanation flips from, this guy's a threat, to, oh, he's just an annoyed traveler on a bad phone call. Spies know you have to constantly test your explanations against new evidence. To find the best explanation, analysts use a mental tool called Occam's razor. And this quote just sums it up perfectly. Don't jump to some crazy, complex conclusion if a simple one fits the facts. The most likely explanation is usually the one that requires the fewest wild assumptions. It's an incredibly powerful defense against getting sucked into elaborate conspiracy theories, which always require you to believe in a whole long list of improbable things happening in a perfect sequence. Okay, now we move to the next E, and this is where it gets really interesting. We're moving from understanding the present to trying to anticipate the future. This step is all about estimation. Based on what you know and why you think it's happening, what are the most likely things that could happen next?
You'll notice spies don't like the word prediction. It sounds too certain. This is all about probabilities. Now, when you're trying to estimate the future, especially when the stakes are really high, analysts are trained to fight a constant battle. It's a battle against two fundamental and very, very different types of error. This table lays out what they call the analyst's dilemma, and it's brilliant. Look, if you warn of an attack and it doesn't happen, that's a false positive. Yeah, it might be a little embarrassing, but the cost is pretty low. But if you don't warn and an attack does happen, that is an intelligence failure, a false negative with an absolutely catastrophic cost. Because of this, intelligence agencies are often biased towards warning, even if it means being wrong sometimes. And we see this exact logic playing out in the real world. A no-fly list is a perfect example. The system is specifically designed to accept the lower cost of a false positive, inconveniencing an innocent person, to avoid the infinitely higher cost of a false negative, letting a terrorist get on the plane. Understanding this trade-off is absolutely key to forecasting any kind of risk. And this brings us to our final, and maybe the most powerful, S, strategic notice. Now, this is completely different from estimation. This isn't about what will happen next week. It's about using structured imagination to think about what could happen long-term, so that you are never completely blindsided by the future. This slide highlights the difference perfectly. Back in 1944, the German High Command was tactically surprised by the D-Day landings. They were surprised it happened in Normandy on that specific day, but they were not strategically surprised. They knew a massive Allied invasion of Europe was coming. It was inevitable. Gaining strategic notice means you've already thought about the possibility, so when it happens, you already have a box to put it in. Strategic notice forces us to confront what analysts call long-tailed risks. These are the black swan events, the things that feel impossible until they happen. Before 2007, a total global financial meltdown seemed just incredibly unlikely to most people. Strategic notice is the tough discipline of forcing yourself to think about those scenarios, because as history shows us time and time again, the impossible happens. So, this is the big question, right? How do we take this powerful framework out of the spy agency and into our actual daily lives? Well, the answer is to start thinking of yourself as the director of your own personal intelligence agency, and you're the only client. And here's what that looks like in the real world. Let's use a common one: deciding whether to take a new job offer. First up, situational awareness. What are the hard facts? The salary, the commute, the job description. But go deeper. What's the company's real financial health? Not just what they say in press releases. What do current employees actually say about the culture on anonymous review sites like Glassdoor? Then, explanation. Why are they offering you this job right now? Are you really the perfect candidate, or could they be desperate to fill the role because the last 3 people quit? Consider alternative explanations. Next, estimation. What are the probable futures here? Best case, you love it, you get promoted. Worst case, you're miserable and job hunting again in 6 months. What is the most likely outcome based on the facts you've gathered? And finally, strategic notice. Take a step back from this one job. Look at the whole industry. How is this field going to change in the next 5 years because of AI or automation? Will this job give you the skills you need for that future, or is it a dead end? And that right there is the ultimate payoff. The SEAS model is a toolkit for shifting your entire mindset. You stop being a passive consumer of information who just reacts to whatever happens, and you become an active analyst who seeks to understand the world and anticipate what's coming over the horizon. So, I'll leave you with a final thought to chew on. Think about one challenge or just a confusing situation in your life right now, big or small. How could applying these 4 steps, situational awareness, explanation, estimation, and strategic notice, bring just a little bit more clarity to it? Give it a shot. You might be really surprised at what you see.